Welcome, everyone. Ooh, that's loud. There we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Safe Community Council Committee meeting for February 28th, 2024. I'm Councilmember Judy Toohey with Councilmember Scott Bader here tonight. And we're going to start with an update or a little briefing from our Deputy Chief Hendrickson on a grant, I believe, for the police department. So we'll let the Deputy Chief take it away.
Great, thank you very much. Jeff Henderson with the Police Department. We're currently looking at several grants. One of our strategic initiatives for 2024 is to look at technology that's going to allow us to reduce crime without impacting a lot of staffing. Currently, obviously, we're short on people, so we're looking at ways that we can use technology to reduce crime, but not increase our workload. So one of the first grants we've identified is the Commerce Grant. And so we're looking at getting approximately $300,000 out of this grant. We're going to split it up between some technology that will help us identify gun violence in our community, and then also some training from officers to make better connections within the community. So the whole goal of trying to identify where gunshots are happening is we're trying to identify people that would benefit from being referred to violence interruption programs with our community partners. And so what we're really looking to do is, obviously with the gunshot detection, is to obviously assist people who need help right away. But really our goal is long-term to find partners in the community and then refer at-risk youth, at-risk young people into these programs that would provide wraparound services for them. We've already started to make some good relationships within the community with various non-city groups. But there's one technology that will allow us to do that and make those referrals to them.
That's great.
How does the technology work for the?
Well, so far we've selected no vendors, right? Okay. We're looking at more concepts now than we are actual project or products. There's a variety of vendors, and so because of the nature of the grant, we haven't selected anything yet. But commonly what will happen is if there's gunshots in a certain area, they'll identify here's a gunshot in this location, and we'll be able to dispatch officers to it.
So does that mean there are audio sensors placed around the city for them? Okay.
Typically there are, I mean, but again, different systems use different technology. So.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Great. So that will come to council and then, or that's just a grant you're writing? Is there any action taken?
No, ma'am. It will come to council on the 6th, I believe is what it's on the agenda
Okay,
for. Yes.
great. Super. So you have gotten the grant or you're going to write it?
We're in the process of writing right now, and we'll
Okay.
submit it after we get approval from y'all.
Gotcha.
On the 6th, so.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, now we're going to move on to our agenda items, and the first one is traffic safety camera implementation and outreach. And today we have Jennifer to give us a little update on where we're at.
That's right.
I know it's getting close.
Yes, it is. So we'll have the traffic experts, the engineers here next month to give you more details. But they were just in the Casino Road neighborhood at the village doing some outreach, actually I think just last night. So they were able to talk to folks in the neighborhood about it, and they're the locations at that end of town are close to Horizon Elementary, so just really down the street from the Connect Casino space. And that we are planning to still get those cameras up next month. I guess it's almost the next month already, but in March. Get it activated in early April, and then there's kind of a warning system, grace period. So it'll still be ready to do enforcement during the school year is that goal. So they're still on track for that for like the last month and a half of school. Along with that little, phase in and all that. And they've done some other outreach over the last few weeks this month, and they can give you more details when they're here. And then the last piece, I just did it yesterday, if you look on the city website and just look up traffic cameras, you will find the page that it's the first result. It should be. So it has more information about the locations and where they're at with that. So, but you'll have more to come next month.
Okay, I can't remember if at the school location, if they were going to add any additional flashing lights or anything like that.
I don't know.
Or are they pretty much the way they're going to be?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they'll have the
Find out.
answers,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Any questions, Councilmember Bader?
Thanks, Councilmember Tui. So I've had a 2-year hiatus from the council and
Yeah.
let this move forward during that time there. We were talking about it before I left. In just so I apologize for clarifying that any revenue the city receives from this would be allocated toward additional traffic safety efforts. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Okay, nice.
yeah, so it goes towards traffic safety projects and programs like other school, the rapid flashing beacons or enhanced crosswalks or lighting, sidewalks, traffic safety enforcement, but yeah.
Good, good. So it obviously doesn't go into the general fund, and my recollection is from the data I saw earlier that after they go in, just 6 months, a year afterwards, the number of offenses and the amount of revenue goes down significantly. So obviously we wouldn't want to get dependent on that for anything other than traffic safety issues.
Yeah.
So, okay, great. Well, I sincerely hope that we're in a situation where no one ends up getting a ticket and everybody doesn't run the red lights.
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so now we're going to have a little talk about park safety policies and what we envision this means. We've had a lot of pretty major incidences at some parks. We get, I know as a council member, we get a lot of comments from the public, concerns that they have from our trails to our parks. And I know that the staff is working on ideas that have been generated from both the neighborhood plus other cities, I'm sure. So I don't know if Jennifer, if you have any background you can provide us on that, and then we can kind of have a conversation.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, one event, I guess, that's in the context of this is when we changed the stay out of drug area, the soda ordinance last year, and we added a couple parks to that, and then during that conversation talked about wanting to kind of take a more comprehensive look at, is that a good tool for all of our parks? Are there other tools? How can we impact park safety? And so there's a work group of folks from Parks and Facilities, Police, Community Development, Mayor's Office that are talking about ideas. And then the Parks and Quality of Life committee just talked about related issues, but a little bit different last week at their committee meeting. And so I think we'll be running through that committee with information about park lighting, because I think it would be great actually to get guidance and policy guidance from council on that, because a lot of parks have turned more towards dimmer lights, right? So kind of the dark skies and not having big beacons of light. And there's questions whether, does the park look open if it's lit up, or does it look like, oh, there's people watching me, I don't want to go into the park to do activities we would rather have them not do. There's kind of different sides to that. So we're going to talk with them a little bit more about lighting and some concepts and strategies, I guess, around that and vision for that. And then they've also talked about, because we've heard at council and in communications from the public about the idea of fences around parks or gated parking lots. And, is that a tool that can help, discourage folks from using parks after hours or signify the safe way to enter a park? And we have a lot of urban parks that a fence around them would seem strange because you'd have a sidewalk fenced all the way around, So that's another piece of the conversation that they're having and that we're having as well with staff. So, and I have a note about the soda ordinance piece coming back to your committee in the first quarter of this year, where by the time we get to your meeting next month, we'll be kind of well into the first quarter. So I'll have to kind of check on our timeline for when we're ready to bring that back.
Yeah, I think it's can be kind of problematic in some of our parks and trails to ensure that they're safe 100% of the time without more manpower, because they're like Forgotten Creek Trail. You don't see anything from the road unless you're in the trail, and then it could be too late. And I've had, it's in my neighborhood, and I wouldn't go down there by myself, but I'll go down with a group. And I had a neighbor just give me a call this last week that was, really concerned with the parking. He'd been working with Corey at the parking at the bottom of there because there'd been some real issues. So I think it would be really nice to, as we talk about this, is to maybe have a list of the parks and trails, and if we could see how many incidences or calls for service in each of those, we can then kind of isolate, which you guys probably already have, but I don't have that information, the top parks or trails that are most problematic, and then kind of take a look at those as how we can ensure that, we can have a little safer atmosphere. I know with the lighting thing, I know what a lot of people do for, pests in their yard and things like that is a motion sensor light. So that in the night it would be off and it could, if it was solar, and then it would just, if certain areas, then, okay, oops, you're not supposed to be here, and the light comes on and there's nothing they can do about that. So, I think there's some ways around some of those issues that seem not quite natural for the parks. So hopefully we can enjoy some of those conversations. But I do think it should be a priority because the more and more people that move into Everett, the more and more people that live in apartments, they don't have a backyard, and they're going to depend more and more on our park system. So, I think if whatever we can do to make that a priority for safety, I think will go a long way for a lot of people in the city. No, anyway, Councilmember Bader?
Thanks, Councilmember Toohey. Great conversation, and I assume that a lot of the nefarious activity that takes place in parks happens in the wee hours of the morning. So I know, living near Garfield Park, we've often talked about the need to have more use of the park, but even if we had use of the park into the evening, it probably wouldn't be being used for pickleball at 2 a.m, at least probably hope not. The neighbor's close to the pickleball court. One thing I'd floated before, but it had gotten some pushback on, but I've seen more jurisdictions go this direction, is security cameras in the park. And I know they're not a silver bullet. I mean, they're, people wear things that make it hard to detect them, or they're fuzzy or whatever, but at least from what I've kind of casually observed, it seemed like more jurisdictions are going that way. And so I, at the risk of treading into a different committee's territory here, would, throw that out there, something can we investigate and see what jurisdictions have moved in that direction, maybe in the last few years. Is my perception that more are moving in that direction accurate? Why are they doing that? And should we consider that as a deterrent, or at least potential deterrent to some activity, as well as a way to maybe at least have some shot at connecting, especially regarding vandalism. To me, that's really the, in my area, not my area, where I live over in Northeast Everett, we've seen several times both Wiggums Hollow and Garfield Park play structures damaged and put out of commission for months, if not years at a time, and just aggravating to where I think things like a security camera might help us as well. So would request that if possible to consider looking at that issue and coming back with info.
Yeah, and I agree with your thoughts on how most of the activity that we don't want happens at night when it's closed. But there is still a few parks, like Clark Park, that has issues during the day. And so, if we had an analysis of the parks, we could say, okay, we're going to really prioritize to activate this park more in the day with other community organizations as well as neighborhoods, and really make a focus to do that. I know if they put the dog park in there, that will probably give more activity than they didn't have. I know that was a big request for many years for the downtown people to have a dog park. So I'm not sure everybody's happy about the gazebo, but we do want to, there were a lot of safety issues all surrounding all of that. But yeah, that's why I think an analysis of the parks to understand which ones are kind of the same troubles and which ones we can deal with more activation and programming and then work with the community to develop some of that. And at least let them know it's available, for all kinds of things, so. Okay, anything else? Do you have anything for us?
We've been spending a lot of time in the parks, obviously, especially Jackson, Howarth, and then off 75th Street as well. We've instituted additional emphasis patrols in those parks, and it's been a focus of ours, especially after the violence we've had in all of them. So the officers are spending more time when they're able to in the parks, and it's a focus for us when we have the ability to do so.
Hopefully, we can come up with some tools that will help when people aren't around, which, maybe it is a motion-activated camera, motion-activated lights. I don't know about the gates, and there are certain parks that would be more realistic or might work for what some of the issues that they're having, like Jackson Park, and others it's not going to do any good. So anyway, I look forward to that. I really hope that this is a priority for all. I'm pretty sure it's a priority for all the council. So this is a pretty important, because it's on 2 agendas, 2 different committees, so. Okay, anything else? Any other conversation on that? Is that enough for you, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think that's great, yeah.
All right, and now if you want to lead us through our committee accomplishments from last year.
Yeah, we brought a number of things through this committee, so a variety of public safety ordinances that you ended up adopting at full council meeting came first through the Safe Community Committee. The restriction of controlled substance use in public places, the buffer zones. We had a medical services custody transfer that you reviewed, and then I think this one might have been just a couple months before I started in this role, but the Public Works Employee Safety Ordinance I saw from probably about a year ago now. Of course, we've talked about the photo enforcement and the implementation of that, traffic calming, EMS hospital wait times, although I think that was like in May. It's been a while since we reviewed that. After the buffer zones were implemented, we did an update on that implementation. And then we spent a couple meetings on firearms and ammunition sales tax, although we sort of tabled that, I guess, in some ways, informally. And then we also talked about the ADA transition plan. So I think lots of times we think about the ADA transition as like curb ramps and the physical infrastructure of that. But we addressed that, and also the citywide implications, because there's lots of city facilities that are impacted, the city website, things like that have a role to play in ensuring that we're complying with that federal law. On the police side, we had the annual report was reviewed here, and an update on the matrix study. And I've just been digging into this one very recently, but we also talked in August about the city's noise regulations. And actually, so at that time, our Megan Monroe was here and briefed the committee on that, and she thought we had about 6 months before that might be ready to come back to council, and probably to the committee, if it makes sense. She needs a little bit more time, but they're still working on it. And actually, it might. At the time, we talked a bit about the, complaints about loud cars, mufflers, racing, things like that, noise from cars in general. This update that our staff are working on is a little bit more focused on how we enforce and implement the regulations. So it lives in human resources right now, because Megan is the city safety officer, and that's where that position is. And we're shifting things a bit. Police, there's lots of noise regulations that the police enforce, obviously, but there's others that maybe make more sense to be a little more focused on code enforcement or through permitting. So it's kind of shifting some things there. Maybe isn't addressing or taking big new steps related to mufflers, cars, things like that. So that might be something we can kind of talk about once you see those updates, if there's a different direction you want to talk about or other changes. So, but yeah, so those are the topics broadly that we talked about last year, and yeah. you guys had more actual ordinances that came through that got voted on than some of the other committees, so you have some real accomplishments to look at.
Well, great work since I was, sorry, Judy, since I wasn't there last year to do it, so great accomplishments in my opinion. So.
You can take credit for it. You're here. Okay, so, and then we were going to talk a little bit about some goal setting for the committee for this coming year. I know that, that having an analysis of the traffic, of the red light cameras, how it comes out, how it all happens, and issues that hopefully we've thought of everything. So it would be nice to have that conversation as that gets implemented, and we can kind of see how that goes. And certainly left was more traffic calming and speed limits, arterial speed limits. And then obviously the safe parks with the soda ordinance, we can look at that and other tools that we're doing there. I know that the downtown core is really seeing an uptick in street activity. And so I would like to have at our next meeting, if we can get something, conversations about that. I don't know, I've talked to several of the downtown business people that run businesses and nonprofits, and they're all really challenged right now. So it's a real challenge. And anyway, so if we can talk about that. I know down at the University of Washington District on the freeway, there was a huge encampment that they just cleaned up, and I heard they got 200 tons of stuff out of there. I've never seen anything like it when I drove to Olympia 2 weeks ago. And when I came back, I saw the trucks there, so I knew they were cleaning it. So we may have some of their visitors up here. Anyway, if we can figure out what we can do to help, I know between the Children's Museum and the Shack Art Center, we together get over 360,000 visitors a year. So of all of downtown, that's a pretty high concentrated amount of visitors. And of course, they have all little kids, so and in that block, it's just been really something lately. So we want to try to help mitigate, find places for those folks to go and get help, hopefully. But they certainly, anyway, I'll stop at that. And then on the list here, do you want me to go through this list? Oh, the nuisance property and code enforcement. That's an issue that's also been brought to the attention of council members. So I don't know where we're at on that. I know things got started.
I know we had there were some key folks that were, I think, so in the late fall and the end of last year, there were some key folks in that department that there were some vacancies that got filled, but then you got new folks to train, and then at least one or two longer absences, like leave absences. So I'll just have to loop back and see if they're ready to, see when they're ready to talk with you guys about that issue again. I know that we, that you updated the code enforcement kind of program, like with a big systemic changes now, and now it's been a full year, maybe a little bit longer than a year. So it would probably be a good time, because some of those changes were meant to, I guess, be more, achieve more success in getting folks to actually comply. But that also meant that some of the processes were going to be a little slower. So if a homeowner was showing that they were doing what they could and making progress, they might, give them 3 more weeks, so that at the end of the day, you're not just issuing fines and not getting it cleaned up, like not getting a solution, right? So, so it's probably about time to come and kind of report out on how that system's working.
And then the other thing was the police retirement long-term health care gap. And I know that something happened on that front with the Vera Health.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that was a fix that will work. I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
I haven't heard anything either. We did make available to, I think just about anybody who retired since like in the last 5 years since the clinic came on board, that they could participate.
And this is all the city employees?
Citywide, yeah.
If they have a gap between Medicare and the city's healthcare.
Yeah, or, I mean, it's also just a great way to do preventative care that's,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay,
easy
great.
to do,
Well,
so.
we can kind of maybe check that one off our list. Okay, was there anything else? I see retail theft prevention on here. And I'm not sure what that was referring to.
I think that council members Arlingo brought that up at some point but it has been a while, but I think there were, I think he had heard either complaints from store owners, or it might have just been like a sense that there's conversation in the news about that issue. But I think we have good partnerships and have worked on that a decent amount.
Yeah, we've been working with a lot of the local businesses, especially grocery stores and things of that nature. They're getting hit pretty hard with shoplifting. So we conduct regular operations. We're a partner with store security and make arrests and refer people to services when we can. So we're getting some very positive feedback on it. We'd love to expand the program as we can.
Yeah, I heard Lieutenant Pontaine talk about it to the Bayside neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I think you were probably sitting through some of that, or maybe anyways. Yeah, but it was great. It was good information about how each store handles it differently too. So there's some store, like I think there's some stores that are really excited and are like, come in and, secret shopper us or look for folks or try to catch them, like really we're ready to open the doors. And then others just handle it differently. And although from the outside might seem frustrating, but it's their store policy and how they want to address that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great presentation at Bayside, and I wonder if it might be useful for us to have that presentation here, if for no other reason than because it's recorded and we can refer constituents to, here's what Everett does in regards to this, because I think they might hear what Seattle or some other jurisdiction does and think that's what the practice, Puget Sound wide. So it'd be useful, at least to me as a council member, to be able to refer constituents to, hey, on the March whatever city council meeting, here, you can go find it. You can listen to that and find out what Everett does in regards to that, so.
So bring that back to this committee then.
That'd be,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be fine too, because it needs to be
Yeah, either
recorded
way.
and we can,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine too.
Hear it,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember now the conversation about the grocery stores and how important it is to help them. And I know that some of them have taken measures, like my Safeway store on 41st, only one way in, one way out. They're supposed to be enforcing the no backpack, even though you still see it. It's hard, so many people use that, but we certainly can't let the Fred Meyer, I haven't heard anything from them. I'm hoping their situation has gotten a little bit better.
I know they have a new manager down there just recently. Our South Administrative Sergeant has been working with them, building a really positive relationship, and they're working towards some security enhancements that's going to make their business better. So
Okay.
it's a great partnership with Fred Meyer.
Yeah, because I know they're in the buffer zone,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that has helped also. Which brings me to think about, do you have anything else on this one?
There were a few things I wanted to bring up
Okay.
to consider for 2024. I wasn't,
Yeah.
but I don't want to jump the gun here.
No, I had one
Okay.
more thing,
Why
but
don't you go first? Yeah.
well, I think it would be, we haven't had any update on the buffer zones. If there's going to be any more additional ones, or expansions, or what the feel is, the success. It would be great to have that come back to us.
Yeah.
No?
Well, there are a couple other educational ones that, and maybe it's more education for me, but so if it is, maybe it isn't so relevant. But, I heard about the emphasis, for lack of a better term, patrols that were going on in certain, like around, I think the casino and Evergreen area. And I think some continued, maybe every 6 months or something, update about how those are coming and are we doing more, et cetera. Because I think I heard a lot of positive feedback. And I don't know if you guys felt good about it, but at least the vibe that I got was,
Yeah, it's the Need and Seed programs.
That must be it, okay.
Been fantastic. We're seeing a lot more officers participate in it, which I think is truly a sign of a healthy police department, is if officers are willing to take proactive steps. So great feedback from the community, and we are increasing them. I don't have any specific numbers for you right now, though, but we can definitely get them.
Love to hear about that.
A second one I think might be educational is, And I think we might hear about it behind the scenes, but where do we struggle with cooperation from other jurisdictions? So you mentioned, an area WashDOT controlled. I know we've, for the whole time I've been on council, had some struggles with the jail and release policies, the judiciary. I don't want to be blaming people, but I think it's also important for our residents and our businesses to know where Everett's doing its best, but and we're trying to work with other jurisdictions, but there are problems or challenges might be the better word, because other jurisdictions have control over X, Y, or Z. And that even includes things like, traffic signals or whatever. I mean, where WashDOT has that. So that would be another education one. And then two others that I think, or that I heard about when I was out campaigning, and so I bring to you as ones that I think are somewhat high profile, are one, and I'm not sure how we deal with it, but jaywalking. And not that, jaywalking is inherently wrong in and of itself, but because of the risk for both the people who are crossing and as well as the traffic. And it seems it's become endemic, and I see all segments of society doing it. People out for their morning jog. It's like, oh my, jamming on my brakes because they aren't paying attention to the traffic light or what have you. So is that something that's open to an emphasis effort, and also things connected, I think, to, or that most people would connect to people who are aggressive drivers, such as illegally tinted windows, lack of license plates, that kind of thing, that I think that, again, I know you guys are short-staffed, so everybody has ideas for what more you could do, right? But throwing that out there is things that I heard when I was out there campaigning on a regular basis, and so would float up that I think residents notice. So thanks for letting me chime in on those.
No, there's some good things lined up for the year. And I'm sure more will come up, as we haven't thought about all of them, and they will come up. So, so anything else? Any other goals?
I think that
covered?
there's a good handful, and then,
Okay.
things will come up from
Yeah.
staff too, so I think
Okay,
we'll
great.
have
So
some good things to
now,
talk about.
okay, so let's talk about our committee webpage updates.
Yeah, so this came up at your retreat, and Angie's updated at least, I think this, Pete, well, maybe it's not right there. Oh, this is just city council page. All right, I got it. Here we go. It's funny. I should have. Yeah, are they up there? I think that's
No.
like documents and. Yeah, that's that. Well, I know how to get to it, so we can go to boards and commissions, and then they're kind of stacked up here at the top.
From the council page.
Yeah, we've already identified a good update. So here's the Safe Community page in particular. So this is what I know, this part's been updated. You guys are on here, and I think that's probably it. So, but I'm gonna write down that we should, unless I missed it. I mean, I was scrolling kind of fast, but I don't see it. So link to committees on the main council page. But yeah, so at your retreat, there was a little like, what's on it? Is it useful? So I threw it on the first agenda for each of the committees to see if there's anything that you'd want on here. Just due to the way that we post your agendas, this link just goes to the main agenda center. So if you went here, you would kind of have to scroll down until you found the safe in the last, being the fourth Wednesday, we missed a couple meetings at the end of the year, but you'd have to go here and kind of look for, there isn't like a clean way to link all of the agendas, but that was something that was mentioned, but, so yeah.
And where's the link to the recorded meetings? Is that also on, that's the archived meetings is the same way?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we're not quite archived yet.
right, yeah. That's just the packet link, so. I always just go to the YouTube page, so I don't know if you'd wanna add a link to that here too. But
Okay. Or can we scroll up and just read the introduction on the committee, and we'll see if we want to make any changes.
Only thought is the very last sentence there. Council members are briefed and given an opportunity to ask pertinent questions on matters to be scheduled on a future council agenda or committee agenda.
yeah,
Does it, just, I wonder if there needs to be clarified.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the intent is probably future like full council agenda that you're briefing it through the committee, but we do a mix of both. So, but yeah. Yep.
Got one thing fixed.
Yeah.
And I did think of two additional things. I know that Councilmember Schwab and I gave allocated funds for the Block Watch, Neighborhood Block Watch program. And so I keep getting people, when is it coming? They're anxious. So, and I didn't have an update for the Council of Neighborhoods this week.
We just, I didn't make it to the meeting, but there was a meeting today with a consultant contractor that we're going to work with to launch the program. So,
Great.
so we got that person, and I think today was like, building out the scope of work a bit. So we don't necessarily have the professional services agreement done, but had the good launch meeting for it. And I'll be supporting that effort a bit, so I'll be able to keep
Great.
you guys informed.
Yeah, if we can at each monthly meeting, just get an update, because I know it's going to take a while to get it all initiated, so that'd be great. And then the CERT program is also kicking up with a new session of training, and I don't have a full understanding of the CERT program, but I know it's a really good thing to have in the community, so at some point it'd be nice to have a briefing on that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I know we are, well, it's almost March, so we're just a few months away from getting an update to the hazard mitigation plan that goes through that emergency management division. And so that director, Jim, probably will want to come and hit you guys up on his way to the full council briefing.
Great.
And that, or maybe in between, there might be a chance to talk a little bit more about CERT and what that means.
That'd be great.
And how it works, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, added two more things.
Yeah, we'll keep adding, right? I know I will. I'm wondering there on the webpage also if we should, since sometimes meetings don't happen, and maybe it's just peculiar to me in my circumstance, but should we say like normally fourth Wednesday of each month, check council agenda page or something? Just throwing that out there. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure people won't show up the evening before Thanksgiving, but you never know. Anyway.
Yeah, well, no, it's a good point, because we talked at the retreat about not doing the August meetings, potentially taking some other time off in like October, November to have more budget focus. And then, of course, the fourth, I don't know, I'm pretty sure that Thanksgiving and Christmas will probably be affecting this meeting date again at the end of the year, so.
This is the fourth Wednesday.
Oh, there we go. Well, we won't be here.
What? It's when it'll be Christmas evening. We'll be bored.
That is true. That's kind of a good point. We'll play with all our toys and need something to do.
Okay, well, great. I think we've got a lot on the plate here, really important stuff, and I really look forward to the next few months where we can really get a lot done before August and the fall and the holidays. So we have to cram it in the first half of the year, so not a problem. All right, is there anything else from anybody? All right, great. Well, with that, we will adjourn. Thank you so much.